Also, a couple of days after Saturday now, you sort of had time to sort of digest that game. What are some of your takeaways coming into the week?
I think I said this a lot, but not much difference than what I thought after the game in terms of watched it back, and ultimately it was a scrappy game. It wasn't lots of quality on show in general, lots of endeavour, I think, lots of duels as a word now it seems to have become commonplace. The ball spent a lot of time out of play or set plays, which I touched on and thought we defended pretty well in the main. That was a pleasing part of the game, but I guess a moment of quality, if you're on Stevenage's side, wins the game. For us, obviously, there's things that we would expect to do better in that situation, but overall it was just a bit of a hard watch in truth, and that's perhaps it wasn't maybe the biggest surprise in some regards, but at the same time, from our own point of view, what we can try to influence is better on the ball at times, certainly, but we had little moments. Credit to Stevenage, they made it hard for us, and I think likewise, like I said, it just became in the main quite a scrappy game.
Yeah, like you mentioned after the game, it was sort of like a rugby match, so looking forward to tomorrow. You're coming up against a polar opposite team, you just don't want to let go of the ball. How do you sort of adjust to that tactical switch?
I think the idea is always the same. I think all you do is you point out in your pre-match video is that Stevenage play this way predominantly, and Notts County, this is a lot of what they do, and you're showing them in possession, out of possession, but as you said, very different. I think it was 66% possession at the weekend that they had. Albeit it was a good game. Thought they finished really strong, but Tranmere started well, but towards the end of the game it looked like Notts County were the ones pushing for, or more likely to get the winner, and change formation when they made the substitutions, which I don't know if that just coincided with it or whether it was a tactical element that found them probably start to really get on top of the game. But they've got some good footballers, and as you said, from a stylistic point of view, you know that they want to have the ball, so we've got to try and limit that, or push the ball to certain areas of the pitch that we are hopefully more comfortable with, but that's just part of it. On the other side to it, like I said, I'm hoping that we can certainly be a lot better in possession of the ball as well.
Yeah, it's sort of difficult for them after Luke Williams left midway through last season. They sort of fell off from their playoff charge a bit. Have you sort of, obviously not giving away a game plan, but have you managed to look at those areas of weaknesses that they do have?
I think every team has some kind of weakness. Sometimes it's harder to spot than others, or maybe you don't feel there's as many. It's not a criticism of particularly of teams, and they might give up certain things because of how they want to play. But we always try and highlight the good and the bad, so to speak, and I'm sure teams will do exactly the same with themselves. So I think that the change in one way was always going to be difficult, but they've kept a kind of certain philosophy certainly, but each person in charge, Team Stewart now, will want to do things slightly different in terms of his way, and ultimately sometimes that takes a little bit of time in terms of whether it's buy-in, whether it's changed. They've changed the squad a little bit, certainly defensively, but are still looking to play in a very similar way in terms of playing out from the back, and the three centre backs, albeit like I touched on, they did change to a four.
Very few days already this early on in the season to prepare from the first game into this one. How have things been on the training ground today?
We've more video than anything.
Yeah.
The players have trained. I think the stage we're at in the season, it's warmish day, but in general they're not fatigued just yet in terms of they can still do some work out there, but not too much, of course, with it being the day before a game. But yeah, more so just video showing them, like I said about Notts County, in and out of possession. The set plays we'll touch on before the game tomorrow, and that's it really.
Were there any injury or knock concerns coming out of Saturday's game?
No, all good. So that's a positive. You don't want to be losing more players. Obviously got a small squad that we've spoke about. So the last thing we want is to lose players, especially so early on, and with a lot of games still on the horizon in this opening month.
Are you expecting any incomings any time soon?
Not particularly. Still working at it. I think certainly for tomorrow night it would be a no. Whether or not anything changes, that can happen with a phone call. Which, I've been in the office then. Between me and Mickey had a conversation there, and yeah, we'll see. But not before tomorrow evening.